Hey there, John Gibson here. Now, the other day I got a really good question that I want to address because honestly, this is why I work with women with PCOS. And the question was, how do I get pregnant? Now, I wish I had this answer that I could give you that was like, oh, here's exactly what you do and it's guaranteed to work. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. But there are some things that we can do to be able to help you out and make it so that there is a better possibility of having children and things like that. Now, before I get into that, what I need you to do is, if you want more information, if you want more help, more guidance on how to lose weight with PCOS, go ahead and go to fatextractionmethod.com, where I have a whole training. It's a free training where you'll learn basically the ins and outs of how I help people see success and the things you can do to be able to get the weight off, okay? Now, let's go back to this, okay? Having children with PCOS. Here's the honest truth when it comes to PCOS. And this is something that I've had this frustration with for a long time. I want to say about 2 or 3 months ago, I was talking to a woman and she said to me, I've never tried to have children because I found out I had PCOS when I was 15 years old. And my doctor told me that I couldn't have children. And so I just said, what's the point in trying? I'm not even going to try to have kids. And so she didn't. And she was about 48 or so at the time when I was talking to her. And so having kids was basically out of the question at that point. And I was like, well, why didn't you even try? She goes, well, he just told me I couldn't. I'm like, did you have evidence of that? No, just the doctor told me that. Well, here's the honest truth. Only 20% of women with PCOS cannot have children. Okay? Only 20%. The other 80% can. But unfortunately, I don't hear a lot of doctors sharing that information. I don't hear them saying, yeah, you can have kids, or there's a possibility, or we'll tackle that later. But a lot of times when someone finds out they have PCOS, right away the doctor says you can't have kids. Or the other side of things is that the majority of people who find out they have PCOS, they find out because they are struggling with fertility. And they go to the doctor, say, hey, okay, we've been trying to have kids for several years, it's not working, and the doctor diagnoses them with PCOS. So there's a lot of people out there walking around with PCOS that don't realize it because they haven't had to deal with fertility issues, or they haven't had some of the other symptoms that are common with PCOS, even though they do have PCOS, okay? So I wanna make sure you understand that you can see success. You can have children. I mean, you say there's that hope, okay? I can't guarantee with 100% surety that you can have children, but there are things we can do to make sure that we improve those chances, right? So I want to talk about 3 things you can do. Now, number 1, this is what you hear from your doctor all the time. You need to lose weight, right? So by losing weight, you can actually improve your chances because there's a few things that happen. Your fat cells, okay? Now, this is something I always tell people. Out in the world, we've got this whole movement of body positivity and just be happy and fat acceptance and things like that, which I'm okay with the idea of, right? But I'm not necessarily okay with the practice of a lot of things that I see. And the reason why is because if you have PCOS, your fat literally is toxic to you. Part of the reason you have the symptoms you have is because of hormones that are released from your fat cells. So if we can get rid of those fat cells, right, or shrink them down, whatever we do, we can actually improve your health. We can improve your symptoms. Now, one of those symptoms is your ability to ovulate. Okay, if you can't ovulate, obviously you can't have children. And so if we can help you lose the fat, then we can help you start to ovulate and things like that, right? Okay, now PCOS does not make it impossible to lose weight. Does it make it difficult? Yes, but only because there's certain obstacles we have to overcome, right? Because unfortunately what people do is they try to lose weight the same way that everyone else is trying to lose weight. They're following the same diets that everybody else is following. But they don't realize that, hey, there's different obstacles, which means you have to do things differently, okay? The keto diet works for some people, right? I'm only using the keto diet because the keto diet is the most popular one. But the keto diet works for some people, but people don't realize that literally your fat cells, okay, no, sorry, not your fat cells, your muscle cells have a difficulty burning fat. So by you just eating more fat is not going to fix that, right? Or you cutting out carbs is not going to fix that. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So number 1, if you want to be able to improve your chances of having children, you need to make sure you're losing fat. Now notice I didn't say lose weight, I said losing fat, okay? Because again, a lot of programs I see out there are weight loss programs that focus on muscle loss and water loss. They don't help people lose fat as much. And just, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a woman who she understood this, she got it, okay? She came to me and she's like, yeah, I've done a lot of programs, but they're all water loss programs. And I said, okay, well, how do you know that? She goes, well, I get on the scale, but the inches don't change. Weight drops, inches don't change, it's water loss. It's true, okay? A lot of these diets are more of water and muscle loss and not necessarily about fat loss. Does that make sense? Okay, now that's the first thing. We need to make sure that you're losing fat, okay? Now, the second thing you need to do, and this is where we actually fix this little problem of being able to burn fat, right, is I recommend that you take carnitine, Okay, now here's the thing. A while ago, there was some research that came out that said, look, we want to find out a better way to diagnose PCOS. And what they found is there was three different metabolic processes in your body that are off. And I can't remember the other two at the moment, but carnitine caught my eye. What they found was carnitine levels were elevated in the bloodstream. And so they did a little bit more digging. What they found was carnitine actually may be low in your muscles. And so it's in your bloodstream, but it's not getting into your muscles, so you can use it, at least not enough of it, okay? So what we need to do is we need to make sure we're getting more of that into your muscle cells, okay? So supplementing with carnitine is a great way to do that, so that you can actually start to use the fat that you burn. And the analogy is kind of like this. Here's what happens. You break down fat, or you eat a lot of fat, right? So keto diet, you're eating a ton of fat. If you're exercising, you're breaking down the fat. You get into your bloodstream, you ship it off to your cells. It gets to your cells, goes inside, and it's done. That's it, okay? Now, we need to go one step further. We actually have to get it into your mitochondria, which is kind of like the furnace that burns your fat, okay? So here's how you kind of think of it. It's almost as if you have your house and you're trying to warm your house and you have to put wood into a fireplace, right? So you bring all this wood into the house, but you never put it into the fireplace. Well, what's gonna happen? You can bring more and more wood into the house, but it's never going to get in that fireplace until someone actually physically grabs it and moves it in. Well, that's what carnitine does. Carnitine physically grabs your fat and moves it into your mitochondria so you can break it down. So if you want to have children, we need to make sure, again, you're losing fat, but we also need to make sure that we're taking care of this thing. But here's the interesting thing with carnitine, okay? When they've researched carnitine, so I went, and after I saw that one study that looked at carnitine and saw that, okay, it's elevated in the blood, but it's low in the cells, what do we do about this? I went and looked at all the different studies on carnitine and PCOS, and there's some that were really interesting. Okay, one actually helped people lose 15 pounds without doing anything other than taking carnitine. No exercise, no diet. Okay, no diet changes at all, right? Now, cool, weight loss is great, right? But along with that, their hirsutism, the actual hair growth and stuff they had on their face, facial hair, stuff like that, it disappeared, or at least it reversed for some. I don't know if it disappeared for everybody. And that's a cool thing, right? Now, along with that, their menstrual cycles improved just by taking the carnitine, okay? Now, another study that I thought was really cool in the area of having children is what they did is they took people who were taking Clomid before, and Clomid didn't work for them, right? And so Clomid is a drug that some fertility doctors will use to help induce ovulation and things like that, and can help with fertility. It works for a lot of people. From my understanding, it's not a very fun drug to take, but they took people who were on Clomid and it wasn't working for them. Okay, so they called them Clomid resistant. Then they gave them carnitine along with the Clomid, and 50% of those women ended up pregnant. 50%, that is a huge change. That's a huge number, okay? Usually we get excited if only 10% see an improvement. If you look at your statin drugs, we use those, but only, it's like, really, it's only like in this study, the one study that I remember with statins, it was like 100 people there they gave the statins to, and when they gave them the statins, one person died of a heart attack. One person died of a heart attack who took the statins, and if they didn't take the statins, 2 people out of the 100 died. So we're getting excited about that, but with carnitine, we have 50% of people, okay, 50% of people ended up pregnant. That is amazing, okay? So my recommendation is to start taking carnitine, okay? Now, the last thing that I recommend, the third thing, okay, is to do things like inositol. So there's myo-inositol and chiro-inositol. Now those things, this molecule, it helps lower your blood sugar level. So you most likely, if you're dealing with PCOS, you're taking metformin, right? Typically when you get diagnosed with PCOS, right away the doctor gives you birth control and metformin. That's the most common prescription that I see people get. Metformin, its job is to make your body a little bit more insulin sensitive, so it can handle the insulin better, and so it can help keep your blood sugar levels under control. Well, the cool thing is the inositols do the same thing. They work in very similar ways. So it helps lower your blood sugar levels, and it can help also induce ovulation, and it can help with fertility. So those are things that I would highly recommend you do. Okay, number one, like the doctors always say, lose weight, right? Okay, yes, that is a struggle, but we need to make sure we handle the obstacles that PCOS puts in your way. When we do that, weight loss becomes much easier. Okay, the next thing is take your carnitine, and lastly, taking inositol. Okay, now if you want more help, more guidance on those things, go ahead and go to fat loss, oh my goodness, I can't even say it right. Go ahead and go to fatextractionmethod.com, okay? Fatextractionmethod.com. And there's a free training there, gives you a lot more detail. It actually goes into a program that I teach, what I call it the fat extraction method, right? Which is a 4-step process I take my clients through on how we overcome those obstacles and how we tackle those main obstacles that women with PCOS deal with in terms of losing weight. Okay, so again, go to fatextractionmethod.com and I will talk to you later.